The camera zoomed in on the swirling, chaotic surface of Raven 6, a planet no one dared to visit. The visuals were enough to send a chill down anyone's spine, a world of destruction. Violent, toxic storms raged across the barren landscape, where the sky was forever dark, covered in thick clouds of poison. Massive lava rivers carved through the land, glowing with a dangerous heat that would melt anything in its path. The ground itself trembled, a reflection of the countless monstrous creatures that roamed the planet, hunting anything that moved. Gigantic, armored beasts roamed the land, while flying predators with razor-sharp claws hovered overhead, watching every step. In the distance, you could see the wreckage of alien ships that had attempted to land but failed. Their twisted, charred hulls lay scattered across the surface, half buried in molten rock, their once advanced technology now useless. These ships, sent by the Galactic Council, were meant to secure Raven 6, but none had made it out. The planet had become a graveyard, a place of death, and no one dared to challenge its wrath. It was a death world, a place where nothing could survive. The Galactic Council, a powerful alliance of advanced alien races, sat in a vast, dimly lit room, discussing what to do with Raven 6. Their faces were filled with frustration, and the air was thick with tension. For centuries, they had tried to conquer the planet, seeking a rare resource known as phenolium crystals buried deep beneath the surface. These crystals were incredibly valuable. They could fuel entire civilizations, providing energy and power beyond anything the galaxy had ever known. However, getting to them had proved impossible. Every attempt had ended in failure. Raven 6 is cursed, one of the alien leaders declared. We have lost too many ships, too many lives. There's no point in trying again. But the phenolium crystals are the key to saving our people, another council member protested. Without them, we are doomed. Our civilizations are on the brink of collapse. A heated debate followed, each member arguing for or against making another attempt. The planet had already claimed countless lives. Every ship that attempted to land had either been destroyed by the planet's violent forces or wiped out by the creatures that roamed its surface. Raven 6 had become an unbeatable force, and the Galactic Council was losing hope. As the debate reached its peak, the doors to the council chamber opened, and a figure stepped in. It was Captain Alex Ryder, a human, a species the council had often dismissed as primitive and insignificant. Yet here he was, standing before them, his expression calm, his gaze unwavering. I volunteer, Ryder said, his voice clear and confident. Send me and my team to Raven 6. We will retrieve the phenolium crystals. The council members exchanged skeptical glances. They had heard about human resilience, but they also saw humans as a race that still struggled with basic survival, not a threat to the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. Are you mad? One of the council members scoffed. Your kind has barely mastered space travel, and you want to take on Raven 6. You're nothing more than a joke. Ryder's face remained calm. We've been surviving on a death world of our own. Earth is a planet filled with monsters, storms, and dangers. We know how to fight for survival. We'll succeed where you have failed. The room fell silent. For a moment, the council members seemed to consider his words. But then, one by one, their doubts resurfaced. Humans were still young in the grand scheme of things. How could they possibly succeed where the most advanced alien races had failed? We'll give you a chance, the leader of the council finally declared, his voice dripping with disdain. But know this, if you fail, the Galactic Council will never waste its resources on you again. Ryder nodded, unfazed by the warning. Understood. As the council reluctantly agreed to his proposal, a wave of suspense filled the air. Could humans, seen as the underdogs of the galaxy, actually succeed where the galaxy's most powerful races had failed? The tension was thick as the mission was set in motion. The next few days were spent preparing for the dangerous mission. Ryder and his team of humans gathered the best equipment available, cloaking devices, AI drones, and exosuits designed to withstand the planet's deadly environment. Each suit was equipped with an advanced survival system, capable of filtering the toxic air and protecting them from the extreme temperatures. These suits would keep them alive, but only if they could survive the planet's other dangers. As Ryder stood on the launch pad, his team behind him, he couldn't help but feel the weight of the mission. This was humanity's chance to prove itself. It wasn't just about survival. It was about showing the galaxy that Earth wasn't to be underestimated. He glanced over at his crew, Lieutenant Juno, Sergeant Bonner, and Private Laney. Each of them had trained for this mission for months, but none of them could fully comprehend the horrors they were about to face. The countdown began. Ryder's heart beat in his chest, but his face remained steady. The ship lifted off the ground, cutting through the atmosphere and into the stars. The excitement among the crew was palpable, but so was the fear. They were headed to a planet where no one had ever survived. Would they be the first? As the ship flew deeper into space, the view of Ravon 6 grew clearer. From the safety of space, it looked almost peaceful, a dark marble surrounded by the void. But Ryder knew better. Beneath that surface lay a planet that had claimed every life that had ever attempted to conquer it. The tension on the ship mounted as they approached their destination. Would they be the first to succeed? Or would they become just another set of wreckage scattered across the planet's surface? The moment the ship entered Raven 6's atmosphere, turbulence rocked the vessel. The crew braced themselves as they descended into the storm clouds that covered the entire planet. Lightning flashed outside the windows, illuminating the landscape below. They were about to land on a world no one had ever survived, a world that was waiting for them to fail. As the ship touched down on the surface of Raven 6, the moment of truth had arrived. The team was ready, but as they disembarked, the ground beneath their feet seemed to tremble with an almost unnatural force. The air was thick with toxic gases, and the ground was covered in jagged rocks that seemed to shift with every step they took. Ryder motioned for the team to follow him as they moved toward the unknown. The suspense was unbearable. Would they succeed where so many others had failed? Only time would tell. But as they walked into the heart of Raven 6, a storm of tension and danger swirled around them, and the first real test of their mission was about to begin. The humans had landed on Raven 6, the very planet that had destroyed the hopes of every other race that had dared to set foot on it. As the spacecraft touched down on the cracked, molten ground, the crew of Captain Alex Ryder prepared to face the unimaginable. They were equipped with state-of-the-art technology, cloaking devices to hide from the planet's lethal predators, AI drones to map the hazardous terrain, and adaptive exosuits designed to protect them from the deadly atmosphere. These suits were more than just protective gear. They were a lifeline, allowing the crew to breathe in the planet's toxic air and shield them from the extreme temperatures. The moment the hatch opened, they could already feel the weight of the unknown pressing in on them. Ryder led the way, stepping out first, his boots sinking slightly into the hot, cracked earth. The air was thick and almost suffocating, carrying the stench of sulfur and ash. His breath came in short bursts, his suit's filters working overtime to keep him alive. Behind him, his team followed, each member adjusting their suit settings as they stepped into the hostile environment. Lieutenant Juno, Sergeant Bonner, and Private Laney all moved with precision, their exosuits making them look like an army of machines rather than human soldiers. But none of them could deny the pulse of fear that raced through their veins. As soon as they made contact with the surface, the ground began to tremble. The sound of cracks splitting through the rock beneath them echoed like a warning. Ryder's team paused, their weapons ready, the AI drones hovering above them, sending back live data of the surroundings. The terrain was just as hostile as they'd feared. The planet seemed to be alive, its very core reacting to their presence. Then, without warning, the ground cracked wide open, sending plumes of ash and dust into the air. Out of the darkness, massive shapes emerged, alien creatures, some with scales like armor, others with tentacles writhing in the air, burst forth, drawn by the vibrations of the humans' arrival. The first one to appear was a stinger beast, its body built like a bulldozer, with a huge stinger at the end of its tail that could pierce metal. Ryder immediately signaled for his team to activate their cloaking devices. The camouflage was instant, allowing them to blend into their surroundings, but the creatures were still aware of their presence. Ryder's voice came through the comms, calm and steady. "Form up. Stay close. We move in silent formations, and we keep our distance." The team moved in synchronization, evading the creatures with ease, using their cloaks and high-tech gear. But it wasn't easy. The creatures were fast, their senses sharp, and they were hungry. Every step felt like a risk, every sound a potential trigger that could lead to death. They barely avoided one creature's massive claws as it swiped in their direction, tearing through the air where Ryder had been only moments before. The humans kept moving, relying on their technology, their AI drones scanning the landscape ahead, mapping out escape routes and hazards. However, the real danger was still to come. As the team advanced deeper into the heart of Raven 6, the ground beneath them began to tremble once again. This time, the rumbling didn't stop. A giant shadow loomed overhead, casting a terrifying silhouette. The team froze. Ryder's eyes went wide as he realized what they were facing. A Titan behemoth. It was the largest creature on Raven 6, easily the size of a skyscraper, with scales that shimmered like metal and claws capable of tearing apart entire ships. The Titan behemoth had a terrifying reputation, and it was considered to be the apex predator of this deadly world. Without missing a beat, Ryder issued orders to his team. "Get into position. We'll use the terrain. Juno, you and Laney get on that ridge to the left. Bonner, with me. Stay low." The team spread out, moving into position, knowing they had little time before the behemoth noticed them. Ryder kept his eyes locked on the creature, its enormous body crashing through the ground as it approached. The planet itself seemed to groan under its weight. Ryder's heart raced, but his mind was sharp. They had to outwit it. Fighting wasn't an option. The AI drones buzzed, providing live data and projecting a holographic map. The Titan behemoth's blind spots were few, but there were weaknesses they could exploit. As the creature moved closer, Ryder gave a signal. Juno and Laney launched distracting grenades from their high ground, creating a massive explosion behind the behemoth, causing it to turn its attention away from the team. "Move. Now," Ryder shouted. With incredible speed, the team darted to the right, using the chaos to get past the creature. The Titan behemoth roared in frustration, its massive claws slashing through the air, but the humans were already gone, weaving in and out of the jagged terrain. They had escaped for now, but Ryder knew this wouldn't be the last time they would face something like this. Raven 6 had much worse in store for them. As they made their way deeper into the planet's surface, they took a moment to regroup. Their hearts were racing, but there was no time to relax. The mission was far from over. Ryder couldn't afford to lose anyone. He had already lost too many soldiers on previous missions, and he wasn't going to let that happen again. He turned to his team, his voice steady despite the chaos they had just survived. "Great work, everyone. We stick together and keep our heads. We've made it past the first test, but it's just the beginning." His team nodded in agreement, their faces set with determination. They had come this far, and they couldn't turn back now. They had a mission to complete. Unknown to Ryder and his team, their actions had caught the attention of someone else. Ziara, an alien from the race that had once attempted to conquer Raven 6, had been watching the humans from a hidden position. Ziara had seen her people's finest warriors fall to the planet's horrors. And now, as she watched the humans' tactics and teamwork, she was intrigued. Humans were nothing like the other alien races she had known. They were resilient, resourceful, and brave. She couldn't understand why they were so willing to risk everything to succeed where so many had failed. From the shadows, Ziara's eyes narrowed as she watched Captain Ryder, his calm leadership in the face of impossible odds standing out. It was something she had never seen before. She wondered if the humans truly could succeed, or if they would meet the same tragic end as all those before them. As Ryder's team moved deeper into the alien world, they unknowingly entered a new phase of the mission. Raven 6's deadly creatures weren't the only threat they faced. Ziara had begun to watch, and she would have her own role to play in the unfolding drama. Would the humans survive this brutal planet, or would they, too, fall victim to its unforgiving wrath? As the humans ventured deeper into Raven 6, the landscape grew even more treacherous. The planet's surface was an unrelenting mix of volcanic eruptions, raging dust storms, and landslides that seemed to be triggered by their every step. The team could feel the heat of the planet's core beneath them, as if the world itself was a furnace designed to test the strength of anyone brave enough to walk its surface. Captain Alex Ryder led his team with unshakable resolve, his calm demeanor keeping the team grounded in the chaos. However, the deeper they went, the more the risks piled up. Their path took them through jagged, lava-filled ravines and narrow cliffs where the ground beneath them was so unstable that every footstep was a gamble. The heat from the eruptions around them made it nearly impossible to breathe without the aid of their adaptive exosuits, and even those weren't enough to shield them from the constant tremors of the planet. The air smelled of sulfur, and the constant rumble of distant explosions created a soundscape that only added to the feeling of isolation. Still, the team moved forward, driven by their mission. With every new obstacle they faced, the humans grew closer. The camaraderie between them became undeniable. Lieutenant Juno and Private Laney shared stories of their home on Earth, using humor to mask the fear that tugged at them. Sergeant Bonner told them about the small-town life he'd left behind, while Ryder shared a quiet memory of a sunset he'd seen during his childhood. For a moment, the horrors of Raven 6 seemed far away, and the team found solace in each other's stories, holding on to the humanity that defined them. But the planet had no intention of letting them rest. In the midst of their journey, an attack came without warning. Scorpion beasts, the planet's most infamous predators, emerged from the volcanic cracks. These creatures were massive, their bodies a hybrid of insect and reptile, with claws sharp enough to cut through metal. Their stingers glowed with a deadly venom capable of paralyzing their prey instantly. The moment they attacked, Ryder's team was thrown into chaos. Bonner, who had always been the toughest of them all, took the brunt of the attack. His exosuit absorbed most of the blow, but the poison still managed to pierce through, injecting a toxic substance into his bloodstream. The team quickly retaliated, using their advanced weapons and AI drones to engage the creatures. Ryder shouted orders, his voice cutting through the din of battle, but despite their best efforts, the scorpion beasts were relentless. It happened in seconds. Bonner, despite his best efforts, collapsed as the poison spread through his body. His face, once full of determination, now held the quiet resignation of a soldier who knew the battle was lost. Ryder reached him first, his voice low but firm. "You've done your part, Bonner. We'll finish this for you." As Bonner's eyes closed for the last time, the reality of the situation hit the team with full force. They had come here to accomplish the impossible, to extract Sinolium crystals deep within the planet, but now they had lost one of their own. His death was a stark reminder that the cost of failure was far greater than they had anticipated. Ryder's face hardened. His pain was evident, but there was no time for mourning. The mission had to continue. He turned to his team, his voice unwavering. "We're doing this for Bonner. We finish this mission, no matter the cost." It wasn't just a rallying cry, it was a promise. After Bonner's burial, the team pressed on, the weight of his loss fueling their determination. They moved with purpose, each step a tribute to their fallen comrade. But even as they marched forward, they knew they couldn't afford to slow down. Raven 6 was a world that didn't show mercy, and the next obstacle was already waiting for them. As they neared the alien base standing between them and the Xenolium crystals, Ryder took a moment to assess the situation. The base was heavily fortified, surrounded by energy shields that rendered direct attacks useless. The AI drones had mapped out the area, revealing the weakness in the shields, but it wasn't going to be easy. The aliens inside were armed with technology far beyond anything the humans had encountered. This wasn't just a physical battle, it was a battle of ingenuity. Ryder gathered his team and began to make plans. The cloaking devices they had used so far had proven useful in evading the deadly creatures of Raven 6, but now they would need to modify them. Using Earth ingenuity, Ryder devised a plan to use the cloaks to hide them from the base's scanners, while their AI drones would work in the background, disabling the base's internal systems. As the team worked together, a sense of unity spread across them. Ryder oversaw the modifications, carefully calibrating the cloaking devices to allow them to bypass the advanced alien sensors. The AI drones were repurposed to deliver a deadly orbital bombardment on the base. Ryder's plan was risky. There was no guarantee the strike would hit its mark, and the team would have to be on the ground to ensure the mission was a success. They moved into position, the tension in the air thick enough to cut with a knife. As the humans activated their cloaks, they began infiltrating the base. The world around them seemed to hold its breath as the orbital bombardment began. The sky lit up with the brilliance of futuristic weapons, lasers streaking through the clouds as the bombardment hit its target. The alien base exploded in a massive fireball, sending shockwaves through the surrounding terrain. The xenolium crystal's location was now revealed, exposed by the explosion. Ryder and his team rushed forward, knowing this was their only chance. They reached the crystals, their goal finally within grasp, but just as they began to secure the precious minerals, Ryder's communicator buzzed. It was a private message from Zara, the alien observer who had been following them from the shadows. Zara's message was simple, but it carried a weight of betrayal. The Galactic Council plans to abandon you. They will let you die on this planet once the mission is complete. You are nothing more than pawns in their game. Ryder's heart raced. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. The very people who had sent them to Raven 6 had no intention of seeing them succeed. They were being used, and their lives meant nothing to the Council. Ryder's mind raced. He had always known that the mission was dangerous, but he had never imagined it would be this kind of betrayal. But Ryder wasn't one to be defeated so easily. He turned to his team, his voice filled with fire and resolve. They want us to fail, but we're not going to let them win. We've come this far, and we're not turning back now. We're taking the xenolium crystals, and we're getting off this planet, alive. The team nodded in agreement. They had already lost one member, but they weren't going to let his sacrifice be in vain. The fight was far from over, and now they were more determined than ever to complete their mission, and to make the Galactic Council pay for their betrayal. As they made their final preparations to escape Raven 6, they knew the road ahead would be fraught with danger. But this time, they had something their enemies didn't, the human edge. And that was something no one, not even the Galactic Council, could calculate. Ryder stood alone in the makeshift command center, the hum of the ship's engine vibrating through the metal walls as he replayed the message from Zara over and over in his mind. He couldn't shake the chilling weight of her words. The Galactic Council had never intended to help them. They had been nothing more than tools, expendable pieces in a much larger game. Ryder clenched his fist, his knuckles turning white. They had been lied to, betrayed from the very beginning, and now their lives were on the line. The xenolium crystals they had fought so hard to obtain were just a means to an end for the Council, an end that involved the humans' deaths. His heart raced as he scanned the latest data from the AI drones. The Council's forces had been mobilizing to intercept them, but there was a window of time, a chance to escape before the Council could complete their plans. They could still finish the mission, extract the crystals, and get off this hellish world. But only if they moved fast. Every moment counted. Ryder quickly gathered his team, his mind already working on the next steps. They had to act swiftly, and they had to be smart. "Listen up," Ryder said, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "The Council plans to abandon us here. They'll let us die, and then they'll claim the crystals for themselves. We've got one shot at this, and we have to move before they do. We finish the mission. We get the crystals, and we escape, or we die trying. That's the only way out." His team looked at him, their faces a mixture of shock and determination. Sergeant Juno nodded, her jaw set. Private Laney clenched her fists, her gaze hardening. They had already lost Bonner, but they wouldn't let his death be in vain. Ryder could see it in their eyes. They were all in, no matter the cost. The team set off toward the Xenolium Crystals Vault, located deep within a heavily guarded alien structure. The terrain around the vault was treacherous, filled with hidden traps and ambush points, but they had no choice. They couldn't afford to waste time. They moved quickly, using the cover of darkness and the cloaking devices to stay hidden from the watchful eyes of the alien mercenaries. As they neared the vault, the tension in the air grew thick. Ryder's instincts told him something wasn't right. There were too many patrols, too many mercenaries for a simple extraction mission. The Council had anticipated their every move. Ryder felt a deep unease settle in his chest. They had been lured into a trap. Just as the team reached the outer perimeter of the vault, the first of the mercenaries appeared, emerging from the shadows like wraiths. Alien soldiers, armed with high-tech energy weapons and enhanced armor, moved swiftly toward them, their eyes glowing with an eerie light. The humans' cloaks were good, but they weren't perfect. The mercenaries had been trained to detect even the faintest movement. "Contact!" Ryder shouted as the first shots rang out. Energy blasts flew through the air, lighting up the dark landscape around them. The team moved into action, firing back with their laser rifles, but it was clear they were outnumbered. The battle that followed was fierce and brutal. Hand-to-hand combat erupted as the humans and the alien mercenaries clashed in a deadly struggle. Ryder, Juno, and Laney fought with all the skill they had, but the mercenaries were relentless. Ryder's sword, a weapon he had used in previous missions, met the mercenaries' blades with a sharp clash as he parried and countered their attacks. His heart was racing, but his mind was focused. There was no room for hesitation. Juno fought with a precision that came from years of training. She dodged and weaved, her fist connecting with an alien mercenary's jaw with a sickening crunch. Laney, despite her youth, fought with a fierce determination. She was small but quick, using her agility to dodge attacks and land powerful blows on the alien invaders. Together, they made a formidable team, their movements synchronized like a well-oiled machine. The mercenaries, though, were strong and experienced, their weapons deadly. Energy beams lit up the sky, illuminating the battlefield with flashes of bright light as Ryder's team took cover behind rocks and debris. In the midst of the chaos, the team's AI drones worked tirelessly to disable the mercenaries' communications, creating moments of opportunity for the humans to strike. But even as they fought fiercely, the ghosts of their past weighed heavily on their shoulders. Bonner's death still lingered in their minds, a constant reminder of the price they had already paid. Ryder couldn't shake the image of his friend's final moments, the blood staining his exosuit, his eyes closing as he whispered, "Don't let them win." The words echoed in Ryder's ears, driving him forward, fueling his anger. In the heat of battle, Ryder found himself face to face with a massive alien mercenary, taller and stronger than any of the others. The creature's armored body was nearly impenetrable, and its weapon, a plasma sword, glowed ominously. Ryder's breath came in shallow gasps as he squared off against the mercenary. He knew he had to defeat this foe, or the mission would fail. The two clashed, their weapons meeting with a deafening clang. Ryder's sword met the plasma blade in a shower of sparks as he struggled to maintain his ground. He could feel the strength of the mercenaries' blows, each one sending shockwaves through his body. But Ryder was determined, not just for survival, but for Bonner. He shifted his stance, moving with a fluidity that came from years of combat training. With a swift move, Ryder disarmed the mercenary, sending the plasma sword flying. He struck quickly, using a move he had learned long ago to incapacitate the alien. With one final blow, Ryder took the mercenary down, his breathing heavy but steady. The battle didn't stop there, though. The mercenaries kept coming, relentless in their pursuit of the humans. But Ryder's team, fueled by the memory of Bonner's sacrifice, fought with a fury they had never known. They were fighting not just for survival, but for the memory of their fallen comrade. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the last of the mercenaries fell. Ryder stood panting, his body covered in sweat and blood, but he didn't have time to rest. The vault was close, too close to let it slip through their fingers now. They reached the entrance to the Xenolium Crystals vault and began the process of securing the crystals. But Ryder knew they weren't out of danger yet. The Galactic Council's betrayal loomed over them, and the planet still had countless dangers left to offer. But for the first time since the mission began, Ryder felt a flicker of hope. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. With Bonner's final words still fresh in their minds, Ryder and his team prepared for the next phase of the mission. The Galactic Council would have to answer for their betrayal. The humans had already proven that they could survive on this death world, but now they had to prove that they would not be defeated by the Council's treachery. The fight had only just begun. The moment they secured the Xenolium crystals, Ryder knew it wasn't over. They had accomplished what they came to do, but the hardest part was still ahead. Escaping from Raven 6. The mission had been long, filled with danger, loss, and betrayal, but the humans had fought their way through, showing resilience that no one thought they had. Now, all that was left was to make it back to their ship and get off this cursed world before the Galactic Council's forces arrived to stop them. Ryder and his team moved swiftly through the jagged terrain of Raven 6, the crystals secured in their packs, their cloaking devices activated. The air was thick with tension, the weight of their mission pressing heavily on their shoulders. Every step they took felt like it could be their last, but they kept moving. The hum of their cloaking devices was the only sound breaking the oppressive silence around them. As they neared the landing zone where their ship awaited, Ryder's heart skipped a beat. In the distance, the unmistakable roar of engines filled the air. The Galactic Council's fleet had arrived. The ships descended from the sky, their sleek forms cutting through the atmosphere like knives. They were too late for the mission, but not for the humans. "Get to the ship now," Ryder barked, his voice urgent. His team sprinted forward, adrenaline pumping through their veins. The ground trembled beneath their feet as explosions rocked the planet's surface. The Council's forces were making their move, and they wouldn't stop until every last one of the humans was dead. The first shots rang out as the Council's soldiers descended onto the battlefield, blasters in hand. Laser fire illuminated the night sky, and explosions rocked the ground, sending chunks of debris flying. Ryder's team was caught in the middle of the chaos. Sergeant Juno fired back with deadly precision, her rifle glowing with each shot. Lainey ducked behind a rock, returning fire as fast as her fingers could pull the trigger. Ryder's heart pounded in his chest as he scanned the battlefield, looking for a way out. They were being surrounded, and the enemy was closing in. The Council's fleet was now in the sky above them, and the situation was becoming more dire by the second. Just as they were about to board the ship, Ryder spotted a familiar figure in the distance, Zara, the alien woman who had watched them from afar for so long, now stood at the edge of the battlefield. Her glowing eyes met Ryder's, and for a brief moment, it seemed like time stopped. Zara, the one who had once been a part of the Galactic Council, had been their ally and their enemy, but now, in this moment, it seemed like she was making a choice. Zara made her move, stepping forward and activating her cloaking device. Ryder's breath caught in his chest as she appeared beside him, her features still sharp but now filled with determination. Go. I'll hold them off, she shouted, her voice filled with urgency. Ryder was stunned. Ziara, who had once been a spy for the Council, was now offering them a chance at escape. She had made a choice, one that would change everything. She was betraying her own kind for the humans. Ziara's advanced technology and knowledge of the enemy's tactics gave them the edge they needed. She guided them as they boarded the ship, her expertise ensuring that the Council's forces couldn't track them. The moment they were all on board, she activated a series of advanced cloaking systems, rendering their ship invisible to the enemy. But the battle wasn't over. They had one more obstacle to overcome. The Council's fleet still hovered above, ready to bombard the humans into oblivion. "We're not out of this yet," Ryder said, his voice grim but determined. "Ziara, can you help us fight back?" Ziara nodded, her face hard with resolve. "I have the technology, but it won't be easy. We need to act fast." With that, the humans launched their counterattack. Ryder's team worked quickly, using the ship's advanced cloaking technology to remain hidden as they approached the Council's fleet. The AI-controlled drones, now fully operational, launched from the ship's hangars and flew into the heart of the enemy fleet. Their sleek forms darted through the air, cloaked from view, but deadly in their precision. The visual display was nothing short of breathtaking. Explosions lit up the sky as the drones struck one alien ship after another, their weapons powerful enough to tear through the advanced armor of the Council's fleet. Ryder watched as the ships above them disintegrated, their once imposing forms collapsing into fire and debris. But their victory came at a cost. Just as it seemed like the tide was turning in their favor, a Council destroyer locked onto their position. It fired a massive energy blast, one so powerful it sent shockwaves through their ship. The engines shuddered, and alarms blared throughout the vessel. "Brace for impact," Ryder shouted as the ship's hull groaned under the pressure of the blast. But before he could react, he saw Surgeon Juno sprinting toward the rear hatch. She was alone, her face set in a fierce determination. "I'll hold them off," Juno yelled, her voice barely audible over the roar of the explosions. "You get out of here." "Juno, no," Ryder shouted, his voice breaking with desperation. "We need you." But Juno was already moving. She activated the ship's defense systems, setting up a series of automated turrets that would create a deadly perimeter around their ship. "You all have a chance to make it out. Don't waste it." Ryder felt his chest tighten as he watched her sacrifice herself. The turrets fired, taking down several of the Council's soldiers and buying the ship precious moments. But it wasn't enough. Juno stood at the front, holding back the Council's forces, giving her life to ensure that the others could escape. Ryder's heart broke as he watched her fall, her body collapsing to the ground, her final act of bravery sealing their escape. "Juno," Ryder screamed, his voice raw with grief. "No." But there was no time to mourn. The Council's forces were still closing in, and they had to leave before it was too late. With Ziara's help, they launched the ship into the sky, blasting through the atmosphere with the power of their engines. Ryder's hands gripped the controls as the ship soared, narrowly avoiding another barrage of enemy fire. As they flew into the depths of space, the xenolium crystals still secured in their hold, Ryder took a moment to reflect on the cost of their victory. Juno's sacrifice had been the tipping point. She had given everything for their survival, and her death would not be forgotten. "Juno, you will be remembered," Ryder whispered, his voice filled with pain and resolve. The Galactic Council may have thought they could control the fate of the humans, but they were wrong. Ryder and his team had survived against all odds, proving that humanity's will to fight, to survive, was stronger than any force the Council could muster. Ziara, once an enemy, had chosen to stand with them, solidifying her place in their story. The humans had won their battle, but the war was far from over. Ryder knew that there would be more fights ahead, more betrayals, and more sacrifices. But for now, they had one victory, one that would echo through the stars. As the ship flew deeper into space, Ryder gazed out at the vast emptiness, knowing that the fight for humanity's future had only just begun. But one thing was certain. Humanity had earned its place in the universe, and no one would ever forget the final stand they had made on Raven 6. The hum of the Starship Destiny's engines was a constant reminder of the victory they had achieved. The humans had done the impossible. They had defied the odds, defeated the Galactic Council, and come out victorious. As the ship cruised through the dark expanse of space, Ryder couldn't help but feel a weight lift off his shoulders. The war had been brutal, and many lives had been lost, but they had succeeded where others would have failed. Inside the ship, the crew moved with a sense of purpose. The xenolium crystals, now carefully stored in a containment unit, were powering up the engines, allowing them to break free from Raven 6's gravitational pull. With the Council's fleet still recovering from the devastating losses they had suffered, the humans had the opportunity to escape their clutches. It was a fleeting moment of peace, one that they had earned. As the ship hurtled through space, Ryder stood by the viewport, watching the stars blur by. The vastness of the universe was both humbling and inspiring. For all the dangers they had faced, for all the enemies they had fought, they were still here. They were still alive. The humans had made their stand, and they had won. In the quiet of the ship, Ryder found himself lost in thought. The faces of the fallen crew members, especially Surgeon Juno, haunted him. She had given her life for their survival, her sacrifice echoing in the silence of the ship. He couldn't forget her, or any of the others who had paid the ultimate price. Their memories would live on, fueling the fire of determination that burned within him. But for now, there was a moment of peace. Ziara, who had once been an enemy, now stood beside him. Her decision to betray the Galactic Council had been the turning point, and Ryder couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude toward her. The bond between them had deepened over the course of their journey, forged through shared battles and sacrifices. Ziara approached Ryder, her eyes reflecting the stars outside the ship's windows. There was a quiet understanding between them, a recognition of what they had accomplished together. She had helped them escape the Council's trap, and in return, they had given her a chance at redemption. "Ryder," Ziara said, her voice soft but filled with emotion. "We did it. We actually did it." Ryder turned to her, a slight smile tugging at his lips. "Yeah, we did. I didn't think we'd make it out of there alive." Ziara nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Neither did I. But we proved something today. We proved that humanity is more than just an afterthought. You fought with everything you had, and you won. The Galactic Council won't forget this." Ryder glanced at the xenolium crystals, now glowing with power, and the ship's engines humming in response. "The Council may have underestimated us, but they won't make that mistake again." There was a quiet pause between them, as if both of them were processing the enormity of what had just happened. The Council, once a seemingly unstoppable force, had been defeated by a ragtag group of humans. It was the ultimate underdog story, one that would be told for generations to come. Humanity, once seen as weak and insignificant, had proven that it was capable of achieving greatness, no matter the odds. Zara looked up at Ryder, her eyes filled with respect. "You've changed everything, Ryder. The galaxy will never be the same after this." Ryder met her gaze, his expression serious. "We've all changed. I didn't expect to be standing here after all of this, but here we are. And we're not done yet." Ziara's lips curled into a small smile. "No, we're not. There's still a lot of work to do." The Starship Destiny continued its journey through space, leaving the burning wreckage of the Council's fleet behind. But the victory was bittersweet. Ryder knew that the war was far from over. The Galactic Council would regroup, they would rebuild, and they would come after humanity again. But the humans had already proven that they were not to be underestimated. They had won this battle, but the war was far from finished. And in that moment, Ryder felt a sense of peace. They had won against overwhelming odds. They had fought not just for their survival, but for the future of humanity. The galaxy would never forget the humans who stood up against tyranny, who fought back against the greatest power in the universe, and who triumphed. It was a story that would be told for centuries, a story of courage, sacrifice, and the unyielding spirit of humanity. The Galactic Council would never be the same. Their defeat had shaken their foundation to its core. They had underestimated the humans, believing that they were a species to be crushed beneath their boot. But they had made a mistake. Humanity had risen, and it had risen stronger than anyone had ever imagined. As the starship Destiny continued its voyage, Ryder looked out at the vast emptiness of space. He thought about the people who had fought alongside him, the ones who had sacrificed their lives for this moment. They had all made history together. And while the battle was won, the war was not over. The Galactic Council would rise again. But this time, humanity would be ready. The Council's defeat would be their undoing. Ryder turned to Ziara once more. In the face of overwhelming darkness, humanity's light will always shine the brightest. We've proven that today. Ziara nodded, her eyes filled with determination. Yes, and together, we'll make sure that the light never fades. The starship Destiny sailed onward into the unknown, carrying with it the hopes of humanity and the legacy of those who had given everything for this victory. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity was no longer the underdog. They had earned their place in the galaxy, and they would fight to keep it. The Galactic Council's reign had ended, but humanity's fight had just begun.